Well, good afternoon, currency traders. Joe with you here for a recap on Thursday, September 19th. Let's jump into the markets and see what went on. I'm going to break down some of the news. Let's take a look at things technically, and let's go out there and share some trades, as always, with that community.
Disclaimer. This video was created for professional Forex and crypto traders. Maverick Currencies is a proprietary trading firm that employs professional traders around the world. Our traders trade firm capital and keep 70 to 80% of profits they generate. All trades and analysis in this video are for professional traders only. If you are interested in becoming a professional Forex and currency trader for Maverick, click the apply button in the video description. Let's break down what happened today.
As we move into the market analysis, folks, you can see, wow, it was another risk-on move. That is for sure. Let's get to the news because I really think the U.S. equities are pretty slow to digest any sort of Fed announcement or movement. We did cut 50 basis points, a little hotter than the expected 25. It was a 50-50 thing, but that should be a little bit more hawkish. But it seems like the market's kind of digested it. We closed flat yesterday, but boy, we took off today like it was nothing, putting in about 2% in some of them, just shy of that on the S&P. We do have the Bank of Japan rate cut on deck. They're not expected to do anything, just kind of keep things in line, but you never know, especially with the reactions that we've seen as of late. But I truly believe the U.S. statement was kind of a catalyst to allow some of these currencies to do what they have already been doing. Let's jump into it. So definitely yen, US dollar, franc dropping off. We get a 0.58%, 0.35% move in the Aussie and the Kiwi. So it's definitely a risk on jumping out of those the currencies that are safe. And I saw that in the equity markets, a big surge, broke out of resistance, ascending triangle on the SPY. I've been looking for that for a while, but euro and the pound and the CAD just kind of hung in there. Now the pound has been super strong, and it's going to be a neat one. Since it stayed strong, it'll be a good one to pair with some of these weakening currencies like the yen and the dollar itself. So big move in some of those currencies, and they really have created opportunity. I'll get there in a minute. The S&P up 1.7%, world index following along. Crypto 2.96%, but understand that's an average. Litecoin was bringing that down quite a bit, but they're very strong. Good move in cryptos. Gold up and oil up as well. Let's get into those cryptos. Look at that, 4.48% in the cash, and then Ethereum at 3.7%, and it was Litecoin that kind of was a little behind, but it was a nice push back into the cryptos. I think there was some reluctancy, definitely some fear as we went into that statement. But now that it's been digested and we're back to the next day, definitely seeing a push to some risk on stuff, which is great. So our market outlook, have to keep it as a +3. I mean, there's really no way to argue that. It's straight up, 20-day moving average, 50-day, the slope. Well, let me get straight into it. And you can see that what I've been waiting for, talking about, was all the way back here. Just see if we can get this ascending triangle pattern after this pretty aggressive correction that we had back up, and it did. It consolidated a little bit of a hiccup here, came back, and it popped up. I'd like to see a little bit more follow through. We might get that. I wouldn't be surprised to see some hesitation over the next day or so, especially going into the weekend. Keep in mind, folks, that these markets can roll over and correct. It does happen, but boy, the move we saw today did create some opportunity for anybody that wants to go to the upside. So what's left on the docket for the rest of this week, I should say, economic-wise? And it's just the one. It's just the Bank of Japan. That's the only thing that I'm going to keep an ear out for. Expectations are for no change, right? We'll see when this hits. I'm going to keep it here at this 0.25%, less than, just kind of flip around. Then they come out and talk about it. After that, folks, we got some retail sales out of England. I'm just trying to think. I'm not seeing anything here that's really going to do much. Retail sales out of Canada. But I imagine once we get through Japan, that might pretty much seal it off, at least for this round of monetary policy across the world. So we'll just see what the markets do with it as we get into next week. So let's get into a quick currency analysis. I'm just going to briefly go through some. Some changed, some didn't, but it did create a little bit of divergence. So as we jump straight into it, I'm just going to go straight out to our momentum here. Just want to make just our velocity score. And here is the yen. We had it weak and it just got a little weaker. A little bit of a drop. It looked like it was consolidating here for a minute, but boy, that slope of that moving average, this RSI, or excuse me, the SARS, but the RSI, it does have this little flip, but I'm going to ignore it because it's more of kind of a stabilizing thing. the little flip that you're going to see in the RSI on the next few charts have really kept things from actually being a true +3, but it doesn't matter. They're still pretty strong. And I'm talking about the euro and the pound, but you'll see it when we get there. So yen, definitely on the weak side. I'm going to slide it down to a -2. Next, let's just go straight to the dollar. Now, the dollar I got excited for because the dollar is actually one of the pairing trades that I want to take a look at. But what's interesting about it, I'm like, okay, I can't wait to slide the dollar from a 0 down to a -1 or even a -2. But folks, look what it did. Well, there's the announcement. It shoots up, comes back down, shoots back up, and it just finished flat. So I couldn't do much with it. In fact, I did try to flip it over to a -1. We got a flat moving average across here, a flat RSI, and I gave it a slight negative because it's below the 50 here, and then the parabolic SAR being below it. So if you want to call it a +1 or a 0 or a negative, it's fine. I'm gonna keep it at a 0, but you could have slid it to a -1, but it just flipped that SAR back on that last push yesterday. So tomato, folks. I do like it because it is showing a little bit of weakness. So let's take a look at the daily on it, because I think that's kind of where I got the most excited. And what it is let me shrink this down, is we have this, when you scrunch it in here, this really cool low base. And I love low base patterns. This just looks really good. Lots of shadows in here. That's fine. It had a FOMC statement, but look at this low base pattern. And if this can break with that momentum in the 4-hour chart, we're off. That's going to be a really good one to pair. So yes, folks, I'm already pairing it with something strong. I'll take a guess what that is. That's right, the Aussie. All right, so moving on, let's take a look at the franc. The franc was another loser today, and it has a beautiful chart here on the daily. Look at this, just another basing chart. Could slide a little bit, this fall over the 50 on the RSI, but that's not the velocity. So let's talk about the velocity. And it's hesitated as well. This is very similar to what we saw in the yen, right? So flip SARs, moving down, a negative move here on the average, flip negative on the SARs, good chart movement, breaking a support level, which I thought was the most important. So negative. However, this little flip up in the RSI. I like the trend of the RSI, and it's below this 50 mark. I use that a lot. A little bit of flip up. So I'm going to just keep that as a 0 and move this down to a -2. Let's get into something that's been stronger, right? Let's take a look at the euro and the pound. Lots of shadows, lots of legs on these guys. Here we are on the 4-hour, so this is our velocity, but I love it. Look at this. That's a +1, that's a +1, and that's a +1, right? This could be a +3. I think I kept it as a +2, folks, because I didn't have this last flip over or this last candlestick while I was building the course. So I can move it for you. But yeah, this is definitely a +2, +3 situation. What I like about this, folks, is right there. So maybe we need to take a look at a euro paired with something as well. Nice ascension there. I'll take a look at the daily chart and let's see if that messes with this at all. Like sometimes if they go in the wrong direction, it's frustrating. Okay, yeah, so this still looks like it's more of a consolidation, trying to move higher. It did flip the SAR here. The daily's not as strong, but the momentum that we've seen in the euro and in the pound here are pretty strong, and so we need to really put that against something that's weakening. So euro super strong, +2, +3. Pound, make sure I'm on the velocity score here. Yeah, so the pound is definitely a +2. Here's what I saw, guys. This is a nice slope to the upside, but it's plateaued a little bit of a hiccup. Now, if you're a price action person, it just is overextended, which means it might want to consolidate or pull back. So if that hesitation at this point is going to change your score from a positive scoring to a 0, I'm totally fine with that. So +2, +3, tomato, folks. It's above its moving averages. It's got a nice moving average. It has broken out. The surge is up. It's definitely showing some strength. So +2, +3 is fine. I kept it as a +2 just for the fact the RSI is topped out. Period. Move to the CAD. CAD just hanging in there, kind of trying to survive, almost forgotten, right? I kept it at 0, right? We did flip the SAR halfway through yesterday, so it flipped over there, but that's a flat lining. It came from a down move. We got an RSI that's completely flat, rolling over a little bit on the 50. You can give that a negative score. So negative, positive, and flat, that's 0, or +1, or you could say positive here, flat and flat, It's a +1 or a 0. Your call. Long story short, folks, it's not going anywhere, and it hasn't since we've looked at it the last couple of days. So it's out. That's all I'm going to do with that. I'm going to take a look at things that are strong. Here's one up 0.53%. Well, 0.58 when I looked at it. This is a nice breakout on the Aussie. Now it's rolling over a little bit. That's that extension on the momentum. This is why it's hard for me to score +3s when I see RSIs doing this. When I see price action doing this, it's hard for me to just go blindly +3. However, this is strong. The SARs are strong. The trend is strong. So it's a solid +2, and it's easily associable with a weaker currency for a decent trade. All right, last one we'll take a look at is the New Zealand dollar. I already looked at the cryptos. If you guys want to look at them, that's great. They just had a huge bounce off. They're definitely showing that they're breaking out. I just really want to get to the trades at hand here. So this is the Kiwi. Same idea as the yen. Excuse me, folks. Same idea as the Aussie. It broke out and it's pulling back, but it's still a very solid +2. Moving averages, SARs, price action, just hesitating up there, but a really good one to correlate with one of those weakers. So this is where I ended up. That's right. If you guys want to bump one or two of these over to +3, be my guest. It doesn't make a difference because we're seeing so much divergence. Look at that. We're seeing that the US, I have it at a 0. You could maybe have it as a +1 or it's somewhere around there. It's staying stagnant. It's getting weak. The franc dropped a little bit. The yen dropped a little bit. So we're seeing some divergence. That's the only thing I really care about here, folks. And what matters is, hey, just let's clear out the insides. If we can get things up to +2, +3, and down to -3, -2, that's great. Where they lie, unimportant. It's the best tradable pattern that matters. So when I go out and take a look at some of the trades that we're going to take a look at, well, it's going to be obvious. The first one I want to start with was the Aussie US. It's just because the US was in such a nice area, and then that Aussie just showed a little bit of strength. So let's jump into that one first. And as we move into it, you guys can see that the momentum is almost worth trading, right? This is the 4-hour chart. Look at this. If this could continue this nice little high base up here, this might be a really cool trade, right? Now, I'll see if I can box this in from way back here. There you go. See, there's some support levels. But if this could kind of stay within this range or shoot out outside of that upper box, this could be a nice 4-hour trade. What I was focusing on a little bit more was on the daily charts. Let me bump over to that because this is also looking like, look at that, right at the cusp of a high breakout or resistance, double top. Look at that. Let me shrink this down a little bit more. Sorry, folks, I got to jump back and forth between this and my pen. There we go. Let me redraw that and make it nice and clean for you. So this is what's, now this is on a daily. That's what I like about this. So this could be a bigger trade. We're hunting for more pips, right? We're above, almost above some of this. You guys can get a little bit, specific on where you'd like to enter. But boy, ascending triangle pattern, it looks good. The RSI's up, SARs are up, turning on the moving average, and it correlates closely with the momentum on the two. The momentum is kind of a high base formation, a little bit of a slowdown in the RSI, but it could be because it's consolidating before it moves. So I really, really like that pairing. I'm trying to get the momentum and the dailies to match up. The next one I really liked was the pound franc. And as I move over to it, you'll see it's in a very similar situation. This one's not quite as consolidating. It seems like it's kind of racing out. But the daily chart on it is a little different, but it has almost the exact same pattern. This is kind of an ascending triangle, but it's more of a consolidation or a base breakout. So we've got this area here of resistance. This is my ascending triangle pattern. So this is a powerful, powerful indication. Good flip up here on the RSI. The moving average is flat, but this is on a daily chart. It looks like it's turning up. But if we can keep price action above that first line I drew, well, then we've got something that definitely correlates with what we're seeing in the momentum of the two. So a little bit of this hiccup on that RSI. This is a very strong pattern. So play it there. Those are the two that I like. Now go ahead and play around. Oh, wait, no, I did say we'd take a look at the euro, didn't I? Let's take a look at the euro US since I have you here. And here we are on the momentum. So it's not as good as I thought. I do kind of like how this is staying up here, this RSI, flipping up a little bit. The SAR kind of flipped back. So it's early yet. Let's see what it looks like on the daily. Yeah. It's not quite up against the resistance that we've seen on some of those daily correlators, right? Some of those ones we've seen that are actually moving higher This one's a little weaker. I thought that would be a little stronger. Let's take a look at it. One more, it'd be the euro yen, and then we'll go from there. Here it is on the daily, the euro yen. It did flip the SAR, so that's kind of neat. It looks like it's bending the moving average, but look at this, the RSI starting to really push towards that 50. Now we've seen it flip before in the past, but if we can continue that weakness in the yen, I know they're not going to probably cut tomorrow, but if the euro can continue to show some strength against the yen, it might be good. Let's take a look at the momentum, because this is the one to be. No. Looks like it's in a little bit of a corrective action. All right. So that's basically all I got for my trades there. Let's just stick with the two. Go out there, and you can see that I'm actually actively hunting. I'm really excited for what I've seen over the last day, and I'm hoping it gets better. Because look at this. I mean, we're just getting away from those zeros. So a risk on. A move today with the US, the franc, and the yen all moving lower. We had moves in the Aussie and the yen. If you guys want to do the cryptos, that's cool. Cryptos just, they kind of react to things here and there, and I can't really do much with those. I'm not too big of a trader personally on them. Remember, we got the Bank of Japan on deck. Keep in mind the Aussie US and the Great British Pound franc were my two favorites. But boy, I think if we can keep this divergence going, we can find a lot more trades to come. I'm getting excited. All right, folks, thank you so much for joining me, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye, everybody.